I mean, what is the truth of our being? This is what I'm interested in. I've been interested in what is the truth of our being, and not trying to get an explanation for that, but a living knowing of that, which is not something you can come through anyone telling you. Most people, all the masters have come to that through, like you say, through meditation.
Well, the truth of your being is happening in the now. In other words,
that's right.
You're having a truth right now. Everyone's enjoying this to some extent. It's going on longer than they want, but it's all right. It's not going on longer than we want. Mm-hmm. In other words, this is a powerful, important conversation, because the truth of your being in any moment in time is the manifestation that's happening. So here we are having a conversation about things that really matter to you, and discovering harmony, lots of harmony, and discovering some bumpy spots, and discovering harmony, lots of harmony, and discovering some bumpy spots. So as a result of this conversation, now you are, and we are too, because everything evolves. This conversation has never been before into all of the universe. We've never had the clarity of conversation, and we want to say to you, not only is this conversation meaningful, but it could not have been if it hadn't been for what came before, and what became before, and what came before, and what became before. Even exactly what came before led to what's going on here. And so the truth of our being is that we are constantly rendezvousing with a new becomingness, and having the success of alignment within it, or having the lack of success of lack of alignment within it. In other words, everything exists. The premise of life is a triad of intentions, and these are the three legs of the triad. The first is freedom. You are so free you can choose bondage. You're so free that you can choose a thought that takes you to your knees. You're so free that you can choose a thought and establish a stance that will prevent good things from ever coming to you. Or you're so free that you can choose a stance and deliberately focus upon thoughts that bring good things to you. So the basis of your life is utter and absolute freedom. The intention of your life is joy. And if you get the intention of life in the right perspective, so that you care about the way you feel, and that guides the thoughts that you choose, then that freedom is a sure thing. In other words, if you care about how you feel, freedom is certain. And the result of this experience will be expansion. Now, we can't tell you which of these is a more important intention, because it is a equal triad. In other words, if you're not exercising your freedom, you will never find joy, and you will never get into that place of in other words, expansion is going to happen because it never stops. You're always exploring, and you're always shooting off these rockets of desires. But when you put the desire to feel good into the equation, and then you discover the freedom of feeling good that only comes when your quest is that of joy, then it all fits together, and then life is meaningful now and now and now and now. But you can't find that guidance unless you understand what it's about. When you get into your car and you set your navigational system and you tell it where you want to go, the reason that it can guide you is because you've told it where you want to go, and it knows where you are in relationship with where you said you want to go. So it plans out the route for you, and you can tell when you're on the route and when you're off the route. This is not so different. Through life, you have planned your route, you've told it where you want to go, and your emotions are telling you where you are in relationship to that at all times. So if you care about how you feel, which is something that most people have discounted long ago, because most people are trying to please others who care more about how they feel about what you're doing than how you feel about what you're doing. And so you're trained by a society, by parents who are very well-meaning, who say, don't do what feels good to you, do what feels good to me. And so right away, most people get outside of their guidance because they're...
I'm sorry, Esther. Can I ask a question? My question is this,
It's annoying because we only have one answer, isn't it?
No, yeah, it is, in a way it is, because what I'm seeing is that I understand the emotional guidance system. I understand what you're saying. But what I'm interested in is there's a presence within every emotion, within every... Like, where I've been going is that within pain, within suffering, within any heavy emotion or feeling, there is presence. There is a present being which is already awake, and it's realizing that within that space, rather than trying to push the heavy emotion away and trying to find a better feeling tone.
Pushing the heavy emotion away.
Or no, trying to find a better thought, trying to direct
thought. But those are two distinctly different things. Pushing the negative emotion away only practices the vibration of it longer.
Sure.
Reaching for a better feeling thought is necessary because the problem...
But that's so subtle. Reaching for a better thought is your feeling...
Well, that's why we're talking about getting general with it. In other words, you're right. When you're focused upon something unwanted and someone says, well, you create your own reality. You need to cheer up and find a better feeling thought. The reason that is so abhorrent to you is because it is impossible to move from that specific unwanted thought to a specific wanted thought. You can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. The frequencies don't match up. You've got to be in the vicinity.
Yeah.
You've got to be in the vicinity. But it also isn't a good idea to relax into the unwanted and allow the unwanted... Fortunately, you could not permanently relax into unwanted because there is enough in life that will distract you. And sooner or later, you have to sleep. And
But it's finding I guess where I've been going is finding the wanted within the unwanted. Immediately seeing what's already here, which is wanted.
Which is what
living out of being, living out of the space of being, which doesn't reject the unwanted. It accepts the unwanted. And
accepts the unwanted as a valuable part of the creation of the wanted.
Yes.
And helps you to be able to focus, because without the absence of light, the presence of light would give you nothing to see. In other words, without the unwanted, the wanted could not exist. Your ability to focus anything into being could not be if there was not the opposite with which to cause it to come into being. But the reason, we're talking about the same thing. The reason that we have so much fun mocking our own affirmation cards is because we're speaking exactly the same thing that you're speaking. To stand in defiance of unwanted by affirming that is otherwise only makes it worse. That's what you're saying to us. It only makes it worse. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you've developed patterns of thought that aren't serving you? What are you going to do? Well, you've got to develop some patterns of thought that are serving you. And how do you know if you're moving in the direction of a pattern of thought that is serving you? You tell by the way you feel. And why do the emotions exist within you? Because there is a point of view that is calling you home. And when you're going in the direction of who you've become, you always feel good. And when you're pulling in opposition of who you've become, you feel bad. And it does not need to be more complex than that.
Yeah, no, what I like about what you say is that letting go of resistance brings you to a space where you basically don't... there's less concentration of thought. There's more a sense of being and more a sense
That's
of
why meditation
knowing,
is such a good tool, because when you meditate, you quiet your mind. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. When you stop thought, you stop negative thought. When you stop negative thought, your vibration raises. But training your vibration bit by bit, in other words, the newest way that we've come to explain this to you is that if you find yourself feeling good about something in some freaky, flukish moment, in other words, maybe you just got bored and stopped thinking, or maybe you watched a mindless sporting event in which you didn't have anything invested, or you didn't care, or maybe you had a massage, or you were swimming or running, or something that was distracting you from a vibration. And so in the process of that, your vibration lifts, the cork just lifts. It just does, which is what we call going into the vortex. And then in acknowledging that you are there, just then focusing in an effort, not the right word, but in a decision to maintain the vibration, the higher vibration, for the simple reason that it feels better. And what we want you to realize is that the vortex, or that higher vibration, will train you into a frequency if you allow it to exist for a little while. In other words, a lot of people, when they first hear us, their comment is, Abraham, is it normal for all hell to break loose in my life when I begin doing this work? And we say, yeah. Because when we are able to get you to listen to us for a while, and therefore allow your vibration to raise, the more you do that, the less tolerant you are of the vibrational patterns that you have established for quite a long time. So gradually the thoughts start shifting. If you've been listening to us for a while, and you haven't, but if you go back and read some of what we've accomplished through these magnificent co-creative environments, you'll discover that we are eternal spewers of processes. But every process that we offer is toward the same result. Every process is about helping you to find a way of releasing the resistance that is unnatural but feels natural that you've picked up along your physical trail. Because we know as you peel the layers of this onion and you leave resistance behind and resistance behind and resistance behind, you're going to allow more of the rendezvous, not just with your lovers that you've been putting into your escrow, but with your ideas, with who you really are, with your worthiness, with your stability, with your confidence, with your understanding of who you are, you see. It's all working very well for you. And this has been a very interesting and productive conversation. And nearly everyone who has been listening to it has benefited by the evolution of it. Because as they hear you arguing for the limitations that are natural, many of them are happy that, because they were all where you are to some degree. And feeling the satisfaction of having left some of those things that you're still thinking that they once thought behind. However, and we're asking you this, have you ever heard more leading edge things coming from a person than what you heard here today? So you don't feel behind, you feel right out there, which means you've got desire and understanding that you're sometimes getting and sometimes not. And that's why the tension feels strong within you. That's why you want to give up. You want to surrender. You want to let go. You want to stop fighting it. You've done enough study to know that there's something in that for you. And we think together we have re-identified that here in this body of work as well. Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? Find the next piece of this.